Okay, so now we're live, and I'm just gonna do my little intro thing. And hello, you divine, infinite human beings. You're all that is, ever has been, and ever shall be. And today is the wrap up of a very long month where we really looked at the female condition, the divine feminine, its absence, and really the abortion of the eternal mother. And we have Jane Evershed back with us again to kind of come up with the soul solution of how to really get out of this trap that we've been in. And well, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to her and let her, tell us what's going on. By the way, I got this book. I love this book.
Oh, wow, you got it. I would have forgotten to mention that. That's a key
Yeah,
part.
yeah. Yeah. Well, and we'll talk about. I'll just remind you at the end, but I've got her book Splat, which is wonderful. Learn or teach the basics of art in 10 steps. So it's really getting you jump started. But we'll bring. I'll remind me. I'll bring it back at the end. So go ahead and tell us what is the solution to this trap, this program that we've been looping in our minds for eons.
Well, Elizabeth, I have to say that, of course, I do not have all the answers.
Of course.
Nobody does. We're finding our own way. But I have come up with two that I think could help. And the one thing is obviously it starts with you, absolutely you. And so to move forward, we really have to go into the steps of being who we really are, would be number one. And number two is bringing back that nurturing mother archetype into the world, because things like wars and all of that horrible stuff would never pass the Rubicon of the nurturing mother archetype if she was around. So we really need to bring her back. So if you bear those two things in mind, I think you're maybe 10 steps ahead of everybody else.
Well,
So
which
the
in a
first,
way is one of the same thing because we're bringing her back inside of ourselves, right?
right, and men too.
Yes, men
So
too.
the first thing that we want to throw out, if we're going to start this journey, is the blame game, victimization, and lack of funds, because they've burned scarcity into our very soul so that we always think we'll never have enough,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what situation we're currently in. If you might be looking after someone who's dying, all of that is part of who you are right now. And everything you're doing is teaching you to make up the original experience of who you really are. And all of this stuff is information for you to use when the point and the time comes for your purpose to be lived out. So the second thing to discard completely is living, dwelling upon, and talking about the past, so that you can actually live in the now.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third thing that steps in our way is religion. They don't call it organized religion for nothing. It's been the most successful brainwashing technique on earth to disconnect us from our direct connection to divine creator source, while at the same time it's pretending to supply the very lifeline that it is denying you. And the Christ consciousness philosophy is that you are the way, the life, and the truth. So these things shall you do and more. There it is. You don't need gurus or anyone to tell you who you really are, because no one on earth knows yourself better than you do. So it's pointless paying someone to help you. Of course, that you can pay someone to help further your purpose in life. There's nothing wrong with that. But for somebody to take money from you to think that they could help you, you know yourself better than anyone else. So
Mm-hmm.
that's all there is to it. And in other words, you have the power to manifest the life that you want in its entirety. So that's why I'm saying that we have to stop paying people to fix us
Mhm,
and pay
mhm.
for the knowledge that's going to further our purpose in life. But first you have to know what that is, what that purpose is, or what they are, because that's another limiting misnomer, is that you only have one true purpose, and then you get stuck in this myopic little bubble. And we all have many purposes, not just one. And a really seamless life is made up of all the meaningful things that you do in a day, really, if you boil it all down. You might be an architect that rescues horses on the side, or a
Mhm,
mother who designs logos, or an artist who also writes and plays music and entertains kids recovering from trauma. So
mhm,
all of your talents are needed, and you have many, not just one. And then if you make sure that you know that everything that you've been told by mainstream media is to keep you under control, you have to discard all that too. I'll give you an example. A famous one is that men are from Mars and women are from Venus. And immediately, this is a great example of perpetuating the trauma between the masculine and the feminine. And it detracts from our real perpetrators, the off world, alien, whatever you want to call them, the invaders who've done everything they can to make sure that our angelic human men carry the blame of their misdeeds under the banner of patriarchy. Men rule the world, they've messed it up, it's your fault, you're this, you're that. So now let's start fresh with no preconceptions or expectations. So we're starting from 0 point here. So the first thing you want to ask yourself, Elizabeth, what is my next thought going to be? And you don't know what your next thought is because you haven't thought it yet. So this question should bring your brain to like a screeching halt. And then in that moment of no thought, your brain has opened up to being in a receptive mode, which connects you directly to the wisdom of the cosmos. And your receptors find a way to prime creator source who's willing to leap in at every possible chance it gets, because this is your true origins. That's where you came from. And they're just waiting. They're seeing you every day being distracted by this, distracted by that. And finally, you've made this connection. So, if anybody wants to try that again right now, and you can actually witness the shift within you when that happens. So, if you start here with these simple steps that I just outlined, your roots will plant themselves in much more fertile ground that you can grow from and blossom into the angelic human that you were always meant to be. So once you've connected to source, then the universe begins to guide you through your own intuition, which is what we don't rely on. We're always looking for something out there, out there. We're never going in here, sacral energy. And so your true purpose can be revealed this way because you've eliminated stasis. And finding your true purpose will mean way more to you than any earthly comfort could ever mean. This is what, you'll find out. But then there's the big, big question of what comes first. Because now they try to trip you up and say, oh, you have to heal yourself before you can heal anyone else.
mhm.
You have to work on yourself before your true purpose is revealed. Well, when you are working in service to others, that is what is healing you by default.
Mm.
So I say, even if you're, none of us are perfect. Everyone has addictions, flaws, all these kinds of things. We have problems. So if you sit around and wait until you're perfect, you're never going to do anything. So I say, just get out there and start doing something toward getting the world out of the mess, that we're in. So how do you start that? You need to tap into your creative self, get your creative neurons firing again. Because once you've integrated with natural creation abilities, and by the way, we're born autistic geniuses. It's been proven in scientific studies. And I can find that information if you want it, but I don't have it with me right now. So it's been proven. It was a NASA study, actually, because they were testing the creativity of the people that worked at NASA. So most people, sadly, have denied their creativity, or they've shelved it during their lifetime at some point. And this is what prevents them, the biggest stumbling block, actually, to manifestation. Because if you're not creative, you'll never be able to manifest. So this is what I've termed creation currency, which I also call the most undervalued asset on earth today. So what is the purpose of this creation currency? Its sole purpose is to be invested in conscious, positive evolution of humanity. That's its sole purpose. So what we've been doing is we've been unknowingly, unwittingly giving it away to a system that has an agenda that doesn't have our best interests at heart. And if anybody's listening, they will know and recognize immediately that what they're doing and their energy they're putting into the world is not helping our conscious evolution. They'll know it by what they do. And what I say to those people is, what you really have to do is slowly move out of it like you would a toxic relationship, and get out of it slowly, because you don't want to turn your whole world upside down and inside out and create chaos all around you, because you suddenly realize you're part of the agenda that is harming humanity instead of bringing humanity forward toward the new earth. So we don't want to be expanding and building this holographic matrix any longer. So we have to stop using our creativity and energy to be harvested by those entities. So I'll leave it up to everyone else to decide what those things are. Do you have any questions or anything right now, Elizabeth?
Wow, I just think everyone should stop, rewind, and listen to that again. It was so profound. My mind is just opening. The pathways are opening because it's so profound. And of course, it does go. I think it's the truth, because I'm finding now that as we expand our consciousness, we realize we're all on the same page, but we're just saying it with different voices. And I love your voice. It relates to me as a female too. I think more women need to be speaking this truth and feeding this new earth, this new morphogenetic holographic template that we're co-creating together with our creativity, and more women need to get their voices out there. So I don't have any. Go for it. Keep going. I love it.
Well, the thing about men and women, like I said, it's all the same, really, because if we do have half feminine and half masculine, I could be speaking to everyone. And like I said in our last interview, that balance of the feminine and the masculine within leads us to unity consciousness, which takes us into the new earth, because we have love and oneness. And that's all we really ever needed or wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, I just want to say something about that, because I think we're I believe everything's developmental, so we're moving at different levels. And for me, I just was listening over this whole month again, and I really wanted to focus on the month of the woman, the day, because it's International Women's Day, March 8th. And I I've noticed, and I'm just going to go back to the past a little bit so we can go forward, that so many women, and these are women I talk to, I hear, even telepathically, I see, I look at the movies, and I the stories, the novels, and there's been so much pain. And I want to focus on women because I am a woman. We have our own unique story. It's just a story. We're infinite. But there's been a lot of pain, just, and I just want to bring it out because we're alchemizing it by talking about it and by living and moving through it. So if whatever your story is, it's all very unique, but whatever you're feeling, and some of the women issues are mother-daughter. There's a lot of times when the mother is afraid and she tries to hold the daughter back, or she has an unexpressed life where women haven't really been able to go out there and, I want to be whatever. I mean, we're talking not historically, especially, I want to be I want to sail a ship. I want to, travel lands. I mean, it's been a dangerous world for women. I travel around by myself, and I still have to be very careful, And there's been a competition that didn't exist before in the sisterhoods, this competition. And there's been an insecurity and a fear of men, like going to a third world country and walking around, which I've done, are the men going to follow me into an alley? Are they going to try to rape me? Or a fear of getting out and speaking out. It was huge for me. I'm just sharing things for me that I've had to move through, just having a microphone in my face, because I've had every time I spoke out in my other identities, I was either stoned, beheaded, burned at the stake, hung, and I have memories of that, and I carry it in my throat, and I had to do a lot of work releasing that. So I think, although we're both men and women, that's a given. And as we rise beyond the duality, we will realize there's no division. But the developmentally, part of my purpose and what I've been doing, traveling around and getting my books into the hands of many women, is to bring the women out from just home and hearth. I see so many women doing such beautiful things as grandmothers, as mothers, as wives, and they're the glue of family, and family always comes first, but they've been so much invested in other people and not able to put themselves first and, get quiet and use that intuitive voice out in the world, to make a change. And I really would like to see that as a result of this month that we've gone through, women embracing their imperfection. Like you said, we're not perfect. I always say we're perfectly imperfect. We're a work of art. We're on our hero's journey, and we're learning. And every pain, every trauma, every shame of our body that we've encompassed, every hurt of losing a loved one or being spurned by our the lovers, all those pains that we've had are being put to death, because we wanted to speak out and be our authentic self. All those pains that we are now bringing up to the surface and transmuting, we are alchemizing it into the future, and we are clearing the way for the collective. So I think that's the journey. We're on the hero's journey. That's what I had to say.
Well, I agree with you. And that is why now is probably the most important time ever in the history of this planet, which is apparently 950 billion years old.
Mm-hmm.
And all those lives with all those lessons you have brought with you to this point, to be here materialized on earth, and you think you went through all that for nothing? That is absolutely the reason that you're here. You have passed so many tests and overcome so many things during so many lifetimes. And this is probably and possibly the last lifetime in 3D, because our earth is ascending and we are ascending with it. And you may have heard from multiple sources that a new and beautiful earth is being born right now of the old earth, and she is shedding her old self to prepare for us together with the mother, the nurturing mother archetype, to be released into our fully formed who we really are, in order for us to be ready for the new earth paradigm that's coming. So I'm not saying just forget about all of that and discard it. We know that we have that amazing wealth of wisdom from lifetimes and this lifetime too. And I'm not saying forget how terrible the world is and all the trauma we suffer and the rapes and the everything that goes on every single day in the world. What I'm saying is we're at a turning point where we can instantaneously change that entire paradigm by connecting to the wisdom of the cosmos, because we as angelic humans are aligned astronomically with the stars and the heavens, and they are on our side. And the way they are moving right now, and with the solar flare coming, and with the upgrade of our DNA, it's all lined up for us to step into this most refreshing place where all these demons and gargoyles and the sacrificing of children and all of that stuff can be left behind, because it's of such a low frequency that it cannot possibly survive. When all of us uplift ourselves into higher and higher resonances, and together, accumulatively, when we've all raised our frequencies into who we really are, and we're living that joy of who we really are. You know, whether you want to study ants or help the elderly, it doesn't matter, as long as you know who you really are. Then your spirit is lifted, you're relieved. You're not wandering around in the dark scratching your head thinking, you know, what is my purpose here? I have no reason to be alive. That is the lowest state of frequency you could possibly be in. And you can hold and maintain that wherever you go in the world, no matter how terrible it is around you. If you exude this power and energy of the angelic human, you have a much larger ethereal scope around you that protects you as well. So it's a protective device too. So now, how do we actually get there? You know, you're sitting at home, you're bored, you're not happy with your life, you don't like your job, everything. So you don't know, how do I jump out of that into this being of my angelic self, my true self? Well, you can take actual steps to get there to help you. Now, I simplified everything earlier on into these big steps. Now, what you need to do is you must get your creativity flowing. Your creativity juices need to be flowing. So what does that mean? That means you need your neurons firing in your head. So how do you get that started? Well, the one way that I have found is to start creating. So maybe you want to sing or dance or whatever. Yeah. But with visual art in particular, I've found that it's a really, really quick method to get there, because you can study the basics of art. And I, in my book, I show you how you can study just the absolute basics, so that, you know, you're not walking up to a canvas and creating a big mess and saying, I'm no good. Once you've got those basics, you understand color and light and composition, stuff like that, then you can move with confidence in your creativity. Now, what you're actually looking for in all of this is that sweet spot where you're so focused in your creativity that you lose time. And it's that moment where you've lost time and you're so involved in your painting or what color you're going to use next. That is when the cosmic wisdom comes in and engulfs you. And you may not start to be an artist. That may not be your goal. Once you've learned the basics of art, you're taking elements, you're taking color and light, and you're using different materials and tools, and you're putting it all together to create a composition, a harmonic composition that pleases you aesthetically. So then you take, once you've learned that, you can then apply that to gardening, cooking, anything around you. You just look around you right now. You could, I bet you, everyone listening could name 10 things right away that could use some improvement, just aesthetically, and on many other levels too. So now you're moving along and maybe you're cooking more delicious meals, or they look better on the plate, or whatever it is. You redid your bedroom and you're happier in there and you've lifted the frequency. But fast forward to the ultimate goal of that, what we're really looking for the new earth are people that can take any elements from the ethers, gases, solids, materials, minerals, whatever it is, and put them together in order to create what we need for the new earth. And it will be organic, completely organic. There will be nothing synthetic, because the synthetic cannot vibe with prime creator source. So think of Nikola Tesla, what he was doing. He was taking the ethers, the energy from the ions in the atmosphere, and transforming them and playing with it like he was playing with the marbles or something. And he just, you can just imagine the pictures of him just sitting there with these streaks of lightning flying all around him, absolutely in his element. And so what was he creating? Well, he was actually creating something for humankind that would free them up so that they could spend all of their time being creative. And this is why, obviously, he was hounded out of town and all of his work was hidden. And he's possibly was from Tartaria and had that knowledge from Tartaria. And this is also what the Tartarians had. They had that knowledge, which is why every single structure they ever made was so beautiful in every way, because 99.9% of their time was living a life of being creative. And apparently, during that time too, our DNA hadn't been messed with. And I don't think we even needed to go to the bathroom. We were breatharians, getting our energy from the sun. And so we've reached this point today where we know for sure that our DNA has been interfered with. We know we're hopping along on one leg, but we also know that we are truly divine, angelic human beings that can remember the original codes of our DNA. And by becoming creative and loving and purposeful, our DNA can reconstruct itself and our memory can return. All of our memories can return. And we have the solar energy helping us to restore our DNA back to its 12 strands. And these people are known as the indigos. And I don't know if I remember mentioning this in the last one. Did I tell you about Project Indigo?
No, not on
So,
this show. I've
yeah,
heard you speak about it. Yeah.
Operation indigo something. I forget the last name of it, but that was the very beginning of the chemtrails. That was the first operation in 1990. And what they were doing is obviously spraying us with all kinds of things like we were just cockroaches, because they so feared the renewal and revival of the indigos. The indigos
Yes.
come from way back in our galactic history, which I know you know a lot about because you studied Ayana Dean.
Mm.
So anyone who wants to know about the indigos, and I believe that they had to do it worldwide, and they were trying to destroy particularly the indigos, especially those ones with the 6 strand now active within the 12-strand DNA, and some of them are born with 24 strands too. So that's what they were trying to kill in their
Oh,
last.
and there was a vaccination called Astrazeneca something, which in Latin meant star killer, like star seed killer. It was, I mean, the whole vaccination campaigns, the chemtrails, the foods, everything has been targeting the genetics of these incredibly endowed children. And I was in the cafe getting cappuccino today, and I saw this beautiful girl. She was just amazing, and I asked the parents what was her name in Italian, and they said azzurra, which means indigo, like the color azure. It was amazing. Azzurra, azzurra. So we're going to take just a short break for a minute, but when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about how you and I can really be the change and start embracing this whole new paradigm, and not just embracing it, but co-creating it. All right, so we'll be right back after this short message. Okay, so and we're back. And here we are with Jane, and we've been having such a profound conversation. Really amazing. I just want to kind of bring it back in to just share from myself, because I think so many people can relate when you really bare your soul, which I have been doing and I did in my book. But one of the things that I found that freed me up, because I've always been very creative, especially as a child, just on my own in my room. My best friends were all my stuffed animals who were my spirit guides, and I was in the book. The Magical Mist was based on kind of my story about having the school, the systems, external systems, trash your creativity. But again, with women, for me, I found one of the biggest things that stop the flow of creativity in me, which was hard to do because I am very creative, but this anger, this anger that I have felt, which is the trauma of all the going back to all the past lives and all the things that were done to us. And I know it sounds kind of cliche and trite, but forgiveness. I just recently, when I was in Malta, again, I've been talking a lot about that, so everyone knows about my journey there, but I had to just reach really deep inside myself and forgive all those memories, memories or whatever, all those lifetimes where I had my creativity, my soul trashed on. It's like, a little child, you create this fairy ring and these people just walk through it with absolutely no sensitivity. And we've all, I think, experienced that, because women and star seeds, indigos, were very, very empathic and sensitive, and just good kind of heart beings, and we've had that trash. So we have to forgive ourselves, forgive all these parasites, aliens, whatever they are, invader races. Really just forgive and let go and realize it was all part of the story and all part of the journey. And many of us came here as just wonderful, starry, loving people. And we've learned You know, we're not just the airy fairy Christic beings that we were when we came here, what, 260 billion years ago, many of us. We've learned so much, and that is on the hero's journey. That's the elixir of life. That's the reward for this entire thing. And now, as we reset to the infinite, as failsafe kicks in, as we return back and ascend back, we're taking all that knowledge with us of both the light and the dark, alchemizing it, and we are coming back so much wiser for our journey, for our wounds, for our scars. And I always say, celebrate your scars, celebrate your wounds, and forgive, because it was just a lesson that we were part of.
Yes, and another thing that's related to that is you don't have to try and be anyone else either. You know, you don't have to be spiritual if you don't want to be. And you don't have to be spiritual in order to pass some test. You know, you don't have to know the entire galactic history of the world in order to move forward. Your launch point of yourself and your purpose in life is authentically who you are. So whatever you're magnetized toward, whatever your passions are, whatever you're drawn to, go in that direction, because that is your map to show you, your inbuilt map to show you where you need to be. And you will end up in places that you never dreamed you could be, or even imagined that you could be. Just by doing that alone, following your inner heart and your intuition, merging your heart and your mind together as well, so that your thoughts aren't just localized logic, that they have some heartfelt emotion in them, so that your movements are authentically you, and you're not just a cold, hard person making logical steps forward in life, but with no passion behind them. It's that passion that is going to drive you forward. And it's also why I said in the beginning, forget the past. And if you can bring your brain to a screeching halt, as I said, as soon as you find yourself going down that road of negativity and regret and all of those things, if you can just stop your mind, rewind, and start thinking of anything around you that's positive, and be thankful and show gratitude, that begins to lift your frequency and start motivating you, giving you energy. Because we are so tired of having all of our energy sucked out of us and re-vacuumed up into a system that recreates a scenario over and over of wars and bloodshed and all of those things that we know in our hearts and minds we could end in a second. We know that we can just by virtue of the fact that there's so many of us compared to the few in control. We also know right now, which is a big plus on our side, we've all been handed an ace card and we're all going to win the game, because we know that a lot of these people who were in charge, the Klaus Schwabs and those kind of people that have been draining our world and do seek to surveil and control our every move and debilitate us every step we make to try to create a better world, we know that they are being worked on and taken out at this very moment. And one of the
And I want to stop you before you go further, because I just want to go in a little bit what you said before about your authentic self, because that's so powerful. I want to just expand on that a little bit more, because we're talking about the solutions, and I think that is the ultimate solution. In fact, David Icke was saying, be your authentic self, which really is the infinite part of you, and multidimensional part of you, and that will raise your frequency, which will bring you to such a high frequency that's where we're going, to a higher frequency. That's ascension. You don't have to know all these techniques, or all, like you said, you don't have to have studied all the galactic history. You just have to know you. And I've actually started the Infinite Human University because it's about you. It's all about you. And
Yeah.
what I think part of being authentic too, I think especially again with women, I think of my mother. She was very, and it's very Anglican too. I live in Latin cultures, but she was a minister's wife. She was beautiful, and she always dressed very well, and she always projected, just such a calm, poise. And I think it's very British, composed. Facade. And I found many of her paintings and diaries, later in life, and she was so miserable. And it's kind of like the Sylvia Plath bell jar case. So many women put on this front, oh, everything's fine, and they're just dying inside. So I think part of it is just being okay with the journey and the process, and knowing sometimes you feel like you feel terrible, and you just want to like blah, blah blah and blah, and detox, and maybe stay at home and nurture. And and I for me, I've started, because I'm a pleaser. I remember one of my spiritual teachers said all daughters are actresses, because they have to please their mother and their father, both sides, and they're always looking around. The female dogs are always squatting and peeing and looking around, who needs me, where the male dogs are trying to see how high they can pee to scare away the other dogs, to make themselves look like they're better than their competitors. So we've been serving a lot, and I think we need to, one, serve ourselves. Go inside. What do I need? I know what the baby's screaming. I know what my husband needs for his job. And so many of us have always had to move, to where our husbands took us. I know I did that with Peter. He was a doctor. He was the earner. So so many women, they lose their family, their friends, because they're moving around with jobs. And we haven't had the luxury of just saying, what do I feel like doing today? I just want to, which I can do now. I want to stay in bed and sleep late. I feel like staying at home. I feel like going here. I feel like eating this. I feel like, I like my eggs prepared this way. And that's learning who we are authentically. Who am I? What makes me tick? What is my passion? What gets me excited in the morning? And I think very few women even raise that question, much less follow it through. What say
Well,
you?
yes, it's true that we're very, very busy, especially as young parents. And when you get to be a grandmother, you realize that you were too busy for your own children. So the biggest thing I could say to mothers is, doesn't matter about the money, just spend the time with the child, because that child needs you more than anything else in the world. And if I could go back and redo that, if I could have the knowledge and wisdom I had as a young woman that I have now as a grandmother, I wish I could share that wisdom with those children growing up. And I won't have any, refuse to have regrets about it. My children are who they are. But I wish more women had the time and the energy to spend in a loving and nurturing way with their children. But the system and society and the agenda that we have has made damn sure that we don't. And they have almost taken over our children. When you sign that birth certificate, you signed your child over to the state without even knowing it. Here's your most joyous moment in life. You're holding your baby with its 5 fingers and 5 toes. And your joy knows no bounds as that baby takes to your breast. And then along comes a piece of paper shoved in your face to sign. The last thing you're thinking is that, oh, the state's stepping in to steal my baby. The influence that they have had on our children is a lot of work that needs to be undone. So if there's also anyone out there in this audience that thinks, what can I do? What can I do? Well, our children need an education that is going to serve them for their lives instead of direct them, misinform them,
Indoctrinate them.
Exactly. All of those things. And every single thing they learn is to further the agenda of the host beings that have entered our world and are destroying it and taking it over.
Mm.
And
So
this is
I just want to say also one of the solutions that I see, and this is the last chapter in the Infinite Human, and this is kind of how I dovetailed with Sasha because he's starting the New Earth community and with the New Earth University, and I say basically we really need to begin, those who are called. I mean, everyone's not called to do it, but I certainly am. We need to get out of society and create new communities. We need to get back on our land, and acquire it if we have to buy it or whatever way it is, but return to the guardianship of our planet and our mother who supplies us with all the abundance we need, and take that guardianship of beautiful, pristine, resources where we have clean water from subterranean wells, and we have clean air that's free of the EMF waves, where we grow clean food, where we grow our own, where it's agrarian cultures, and where we can educate our own children, create our own art, create our own entertainment and films and events, and just start anew based on the Krytala spiral, and coming, flashing into infinite source and flashing out with that creation that comes from the primordial first creator outward, and we're free of this. What say you?
Well, this is coming as long as many people lean into it as possible. And I want to bring up here the fact of this phrase, the chosen ones. I don't believe in the chosen ones. There's no chosen anyone. If we are all one, we're all equal. And this has nothing to do with equity either. There's no
Well, I do believe in the chosen ones, because they're the ones who choose. I choose. I choose to move forward in be as far along primordial creation on the Krytala spiral as possible. That's my whole dedication in my life. And through the way life has unfolded, I have freed myself. And I think many people have found, family members, they're not in relationships right now. Many people who hear me find themselves very much alone, and they're wondering, I think we're just alone right now because we're shedding a lot of the old world stuff, and we are the ones who have chosen, and many of us are from Aquinas, another time matrix, who have come here, the Aquarian, the time of Aquarian, specifically for this purpose, to be the change, to start these Melchizedek cloister communities, or these new earth communities around the planet. And we just are so sick of the old, we can't even do it anymore. It's like been there, done that, bought the t-shirt and burnt it. It doesn't hold any fascination. And we're just so ready to create something new without the confines of the laws and the money system and the and the school systems and the social codes and the outdated modalities and morals, and people that just don't want that. And everyone has free will, but I think I'm speaking, I hope my voice is gathering and exciting and inspiring to start doing it different, be the change, do something that comes from the passion of your soul.
Well, I agree with you about doing something that comes from the passion of your soul, but what you choose to do doesn't necessarily make you chosen. But that's just a semantic problem we have here. It's okay. I just personally
I'm just saying the chosen are those who have chosen.
Okay, well,
they're not chosen by God. They're chosen by God within them. They choose to do it different. They choose. Okay, for example, someone who chooses to keep their children in the indoctrination system and stay in a corporate job where they're sick and live in a 5G under the shade of the 5G tree, they're choosing that, and that's fine. I have no problem with that. But that's their free will, and they want to keep doing that until they spiral down the Fibonacci spiral into a fallen parallel universe. That they have that right, because that's familiar, that's comfortable, that's what they choose. Those who are saying, I can't do it anymore, I want something different, I don't like it and I want something different, and they ask for it, then things will be presented to them along their path to move, to start something, to live, to choose life over death, to choose living systems, to eat clean food, to grow their own food, to live in pristine environments, to have relationships with people who are moving towards embracing the oneness and unity consciousness. We're facing choices right now.
It's true, we do face choices, but there's some people that have been so debilitated by this onslaught. They're so busy trying to make ends meet that they don't have the luxury or the time to contemplate these things. So it's probably up to us to help clean it all up and bring them up and out of that. And I'm one of those people that believes that everybody has their exact beautiful right place where they are right now. No judgment, because what we have right now is a very changing world, and it's all the people that are not awake that makes it everything seem like everything's normal. So there's no mass panic and chaos right now. Well, not in America. There's a lot all over the world. And then there's your stormtroopers who get out there and try to change the world. And there's all these different levels of awareness where people act, and everyone's in their right place for the right time, for the right moment, for everything to change. And then our lucky jackpot moment is when we get that solar flare upgrade. And then I think all of this.
That's a huge topic for another time, but because I just have a lot of mixed. Okay, that's another topic for another time, because I would like to hear your views on the solar flare. But I do want to go back to, in my book, I say everyone is writing their own story, because you are writing your story. You create your own reality, whether you believe it or not. You are creating that, but with no judgment, because everyone's at different points in their story. And I would never judge someone, who's just survival level, making ends meet. That's where they need to be. That's part of their story. That's their journey. Like I said before, everyone needs to be authentic and respect where they're at the time. And, so no judgment there, but I do like to motivate people, because that's part of my job, because there are people here that are encrypted with higher genetics, like you said before. And we who are perhaps further along in our story, who are waking up faster, who are leading the way. We're doing it. We're here for the masses, because it's 100th monkey syndrome. As we, heal, as we change, as we get, our story, as we get our elixir of life, it is transmitted to the collective. So it's all good. It's all one, and even if someone chooses not to change, which is their right, and they return to infinite source as space dust. I know, so I've talked to someone who says she's gone back as space dust, and because she was loved so much, they helped her reconstruct her memories. So I don't think anything is ever lost, and it's all good. It's all just different stories in the mind of the divine creator, but it's always an inside job, and it comes through moment to moment choices. You have to choose. Are you choosing life or death? Really, every decision you make. Am I eating something that's living, that's feeding me? Or am I, moving into more toxicity? Everything you buy, every place you go, every project you start is either moving you upward and towards life, or back into the death cult and downward in the Fibonacci spiral. I believe.
Well, a lot of our problems are a direct result of this death cult being in charge. So we honestly can't really blame anyone. And then
no, but we do. And okay, so we have to also realize that we've been hacked into, our mind has been hacked into, but we also have to realize you draw to yourself what you need to experience. So we, at some level, all decided to participate in this experience experiment. Some people call it experiment. I really call it experience of what it feels like to be fallen. And now we know we've learned so much. And I don't know about you, but I've learned I don't want to do it anymore.
It's
Basta,
true.
enough, finished. So,
It's true that we don't like it and we don't want to be it anymore, and we want to be the change that we want to see and all of that. But when I go back to something like Nagasaki or Hiroshima, and I'm a mother walking with my child on my back and I'm suddenly incinerated, I don't see any way that I ever asked for that. I just see it as such an injustice and such
well,
an
this is where
aberration.
and we're almost out of time, but I do want to end on this note because that's why I brought forgiveness in there. Because, if you can really look at it like a movie, like I watch movies every night, and it's just a movie. There is no death. I mean, you have to feel it. I'm not spiritually bypassing. You have to feel it. And I've felt everything that has been, all the murders and kills and injustices that have been done to my bodies. I felt them. But then you have to get to the point of forgiveness and realize, okay, it was all stories. It was all the infinite knowing itself. And you have to really let it go because, and also you've done it to other people. That's the thing. We all have this draconian Anunnaki genetics inbred into us. So we have the good and the shadow self. And parts of us in other lifetimes have killed and committed atrocities. And that's why we have to forgive those that trespassed against us and ourselves. Because as we forgive them, we forgive ourselves. And that's the full circle. So I'm sorry, I want to end on that, but give you just a few minutes. I want to make sure we get everything in the recording. So 2
Well, just
minutes.
just to respond to that, I always like to go big, 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 big picture.
Mhm.
And so what we're really getting back to now is where we started when I mentioned the poor woman that was incinerated at
Mhm.
Nagasaki, where if the nurturing mother archetype had been
Mhm.
present on our earth at the time and was revered for who and what she is, none of that mischief would have crossed her Rubicon, and it never would have happened. So we can see now the folly of our ways, and this man against woman thing is useless to harbor.
Mhm.
Now we must go forward and revere men and women equally in order to create harmony and balance, unity conscious, onenessness, and love.
Yes. And forgiveness, forgive and move on and say it was all a very powerful learning experience. And I don't want to do it anymore. I'm ready to return back to the eternal mother in the unity oneness. So, yeah. Well, this has been quite a powerful series. And Jane, thank you so much. Can you just tell people how they can get in touch with you? So, once again, in case they're just hearing this for the first time.
Well, basically, if you go to my website, janeevershedart.com, and you
Okay.
can see how that's spelled on here. And that's where you'll find my videos, my art, everything I have, basically.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming back twice. And I really hope to have you again because I find your words so wise and you have such a loving, compassionate, nurturing presence. And you're very inspiring, especially I think you embrace the divine eternal mother and project it with your presence. So thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I love being here with you. And we've got lots to debate about as well.
Yes, yes. Okay, and so that's it for this session, and we'll see you next week. We'll be bringing back the great Eon Parks and talking more about Tartarian technology. Ciao for now. Okay, so that's going to Voice America, and they'll put that on. So, And I just wanted to thank you. So,
Wow, we opened up so many cans of worms and so many rabbit holes that we could have gone down. It was just one thing after another
I
that
know. That's why I love it. That's what I wanted to do here, though. I'm trying to do it different, and I'm really excited because I've got someone from Voice America. I've got they're going through huge changes, like the whole planet is, and I was just guided to go to Voice America. So I'm going to talk to a new producer who listened to David Icke, and I think she's going to help me bring it kind of more mainstream because I think all this needs to go more mainstream because I think people are really starting to question and wake up and look at things, and I like it. I think I'd like to leave a session with more questions in people's minds. That to me, that's a good movie. That's a good piece of art. That's a good session when you're
yeah.
like, wow. And so I definitely would like to have you back so much. I just, I think sometimes it's rare to find. We're having a lot of men right now who I think are paving the way for the women. Like we talked about the trinity of Sasha Stone, David Icke, and Jay Widener, my three favorite guys out
Yeah.
there speaking. And I think we need to get more women who are joining in on that too, so we have a nice mix, a balance
And
there.
maybe women content as well. And I have
Mhm.
some mysteries I solved regarding or connected to prehistoric cave art and Mary Magdalene. So that is a really amazing story, actually. And I haven't really told it in its entirety before. So you might want to put that on a back burner because Mary
Okay,
Magdalene is
I'm going to end this stream here for a minute so I have that.